Rain drummed against the windshield of the ambulance, blurring the lights of the night city into colorful spots. 28-year-old nurse Lee So Rin wiped sweat from her forehead and glanced at her watch, 2:30 in the morning. Third call of the shift, and judging by everything, not the last. Unconscious man found in the forest outside the city, mumbled driver Kim Tae Su, turning onto a dirt road. The witness says he looks bad. So Rin checked the contents of her medical bag. In 7 years of ambulance work, she had seen everything, but something in the dispatcher's voice made her wary. Maybe it was just fatigue. There had been too much work in recent months, but less and less trust in people. The dirt road ended at a small clearing where a young guy in a soaked jacket was already waiting for them. He nervously paced next to his bicycle, constantly glancing back at the dark wall of the forest. "He's there, about 50 meters away," the guy shouted as soon as they got out of the car. "I was riding home and heard a groan. I thought someone from the tourists got lost, but God, what condition he's in." So Rin grabbed her bag and flashlight, following Tae Su along the narrow path. Wet branches whipped across their faces, and mud squelched under their feet. A few more meters, and the flashlight beam picked out from the darkness the figure of a man lying motionless at the base of an old oak. What she saw made her stop for a second. The stranger was shirtless, and his torso was covered with dozens of scars, old and fresh, as if someone's cruel hand had drawn a map of lived pain on his skin. Some looked like knife wounds, others like burns. On his right shoulder, a lotus tattoo was blackened, half hidden by dried blood. "Pulse is weak but present," said So Rin, kneeling next to the victim. "Multiple abrasions, lacerated wound on the head. Tae Su, bring the stretcher." While the driver ran to the car, she examined the stranger more carefully. A man about 30, Asian appearance, strong build. Even unconscious, his face retained wariness, as if he was used to sleeping in expectation of danger. On his wrists, marks from handcuffs or ropes. "Who are you?" thought So Rin, applying a bandage to the bleeding wound. Something about this person made her heart beat faster, and it wasn't just professional sympathy. When they brought the victim to the hospital, Dr. Cho gave him a cursory glance and shook his head. "The intensive care unit is overcrowded, and there are no beds in the wards. If his life isn't in danger, leave him in the corridor until morning." "But he has a traumatic brain injury," objected So Rin. "Everyone has traumatic brain injuries, Dr. Cho waved his hand tiredly. "Do what you can." So Rin looked at the stranger lying on the gurney in the dim corridor. Something inside her protested against such indifference. Maybe she remembered her own past, when no one cared about her pain. The decision matured instantly. "Tae Su, help me load him back into the car." "So Rin, are you crazy?" The driver was surprised. "I have everything necessary at home. He won't survive here in the corridor." Half an hour later, So Rin was opening the door to her small apartment in an old district of the city. Tae Su helped carry the victim to the bedroom and shook his head disapprovingly. "I hope you know what you're doing. Call if anything happens." Left alone with the stranger, So Rin felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. She treated his wounds, set up in four, and sat nearby, watching his steady breathing. In the light of the desk lamp, the scars on his body looked even more frightening. Each told its own story of pain and survival. "What happened to you?" she silently asked, carefully brushing damp hair from his forehead. The stranger jerked in his sleep, mumbling something in Korean, but remained unconscious. So Rin settled in the chair next to the bed, covering herself with a blanket. Sleep wouldn't come, too many thoughts were spinning in her head. She thought about how long it had been since she had brought anyone home except her friend Min-ae. After her divorce from Kang Min-jun, who turned out to be a domestic tyrant, she avoided men and close relationships. Work, home, rare meetings with friends, that was her whole life. But this person was different. Even wounded and helpless, he radiated some kind of strength. as if he was used to protecting himself and others, despite everything. So Rin woke to the sound of a falling glass. Gray morning sun broke through the curtains, and shards lay on the bedroom floor with water spreading around them. The stranger sat on the edge of the bed, clutching a glass shard in his hand and tensely surveying the room. "Don't move," So Rin said quietly, slowly raising her hands. "I'm a doctor. I treated you." The man turned his head toward her, and she saw his eyes, dark, wary, full of pain. They showed a habit of danger and readiness for defense. "Where am I?" he asked in a hoarse voice, not releasing the shard from his hand. "In my house. You were found in the forest 3 days ago. You were unconscious." 3 days? He tried to stand but staggered. So Rin instinctively stepped forward to support him but stopped when she saw him tense up. "You have a concussion and multiple injuries. You need a few more days of rest." The stranger carefully studied her face, as if trying to understand whether she could be trusted. Finally, the shard fell from his fingers. "My name is Park Jun-ho," he said after a long pause. "Lee So Rin. I'm an ambulance nurse. Why did you save me? Why did you bring me to your home?" A good question. So Rin herself wasn't sure of the answer. There were no beds in the hospital. And leaving a person to die in the corridor. "I couldn't." Jun-ho nodded, as if he understood more than she had said. "Thank you," he simply said. In the following days, they cautiously got to know each other. So Rin went to work, and Jun-ho stayed in the apartment, gradually recovering. She noticed that he never sat with his back to the door, automatically memorized the location of all exits, and flinched at sudden sounds. At night, nightmares tormented him. She heard him screaming in his sleep in Korean and English. "Were you in the army?" she asked one evening when they were having dinner with kimchi and rice that Jun-ho had prepared himself. "You could say that," he answered evasively. "Do you have documents?" Jun-ho froze with chopsticks halfway to his mouth. "They were in my jacket. Probably lost in the forest." So Rin knew he was lying. When she undressed him to treat his wounds, she found 3 passports with different names in a hidden pocket of his jeans and a banknote rolled into a tube with coordinates written in ballpoint pen. She hid the documents in the dresser, not daring to bring up this topic. But every day her curiosity grew. Jun-ho spoke 3 languages, instantly reacted to any sounds in the stairwell, and despite his injuries, demonstrated amazing physical fitness. When the neighbor's cat fell from the balcony onto their window, Jun-ho reacted faster than lightning. A knife suddenly appeared in his hand, which he got from who knows where. "Sorry," he mumbled, hiding the weapon. "Reflexes." "What kind of reflexes?" So Rin couldn't stand it. "Long story. We have time." But Jun-ho just shook his head and went to the kitchen to wash dishes. So Rin understood, he wasn't ready to tell the truth yet. Nevertheless, something greater than just a patient's gratitude to a doctor was growing between them. Jun-ho was attentive and caring. He cooked dinner for her return, was interested in her well-being after difficult shifts, listened to stories about work. He never raised his voice, never made sudden movements, and seemed to sense her past, those wounds that her ex-husband had left in her soul. "You're afraid of men," he said one evening when she involuntarily recoiled, seeing him standing in the kitchen doorway. "Not all of them," so Rin lied. "Someone hurt you." This was a statement, not a question. "And you?" she parried. "Who left all those scars?" "Long story," he repeated again. "We agreed, we have time." Jun-ho approached the window and was silent for a long time, looking at the city lights. "I did things I shouldn't have done. And now I'm paying for it." "What exactly?" "It's better you don't know." On the 7th day of living together, So Rin decided on a desperate step. Waiting for Jun-ho to fall asleep, she took the found documents from the dresser and carefully studied them by the light of the desk lamp. 3 passports, Korean in the name of Park Jun-ho, Japanese, Tanaka Hiroshi, American, John Park. All with his photograph, but they looked suspiciously new. The Korean passport had stamps from countries she had never been to: Thailand, Philippines, Myanmar. The coordinates on the banknote led her to internet maps. It turned out to be a place in Seoul's industrial zone, abandoned warehouses, and a container yard. My God, who am I living with? Thought So Rin, feeling her heart pounding with fear and at the same time excitement. The mystery that Jun Ho represented frightened her, but also attracted her more than anything in the world. In the morning, she prepared breakfast as if nothing had happened and went to work, but her thoughts constantly returned to what she had found. In the evening, coming home, she found Jun Ho standing by the dresser with an open drawer. Looking for something? She asked as innocently as possible. My documents, he said without turning around. Where are they? What documents? You said you lost them in the forest. Jun Ho slowly turned around. There was no anger in his gaze, only deep fatigue. So Rin, please give them back. Why do you need 3 passports with different names? It's complicated to explain. Try. We have time. A long silence hung between them. Finally, Jun Ho sat down in the chair and covered his face with his hands. I'm not who I pretended to be. I already figured that out. Who are you really? A person who did terrible things for money. So Rin felt her mouth go dry. A mercenary? You could say that. I worked for an international organization. We carried out orders for those who could pay. Any orders. And what happened? Why were you found wounded in the forest? Jun Ho raised his head and looked into her eyes. I tried to get out. Tried to start a new life. But you don't just leave people like that. They're hunting you? Yes. And now, thanks to me, they're hunting you too. The words hit her like a slap. Me? Why? Because you helped me. Because you know what I look like. Because they kill all witnesses. So Rin felt the room begin to spin. But I don't know anything specific. I'm just a nurse. That doesn't matter to them. And how much time do we have? I don't know. Maybe a few days. Maybe a few hours. So Rin slowly sank onto the sofa. Fear fought with a feeling she didn't want to acknowledge. During this week, Jun Ho had become dear to her, more than anyone in recent years. What should we do? You will disappear. Change your name, move to another city. I have contacts who will help. And you? I'll continue running. Like I have for the last 3 years. What if I don't want to run away? Jun Ho looked at her in surprise. So Rin, you don't understand who you've gotten involved with. These people kill for entertainment. Then tell me everything. If my life is already in danger, I have the right to know the truth. Jun Ho was silent for a long time, and then began to speak. He told her about Black Lotus, an organization that controlled arms and human trafficking in Southeast Asia. About how they recruited him as a teenager from the streets. About years of training that turned him into a perfect killing instrument. About the last assignment in the Philippines, where he was supposed to kill a local journalist investigating mafia connections with the government. But when I came to his house, there were children, he finished quietly. A little girl about 5 years old. She smiled at me and offered me candy. And I realized I couldn't anymore. I just couldn't kill innocent people. What did you do? I warned the journalist. Helped him and his family hide. Then I ran myself. They declared a hunt for me, but I know their methods, I know their weaknesses. 3 years of cat and mouse games across Asia. And how did you end up here? I thought it would be safer in Korea. I planned to lay low, find work, become an ordinary person. But they still tracked me down. So Rin extended her hand to him. The documents are in the bottom drawer of the dresser. Take them and leave. What? You're right. I'm an ordinary nurse. I don't want to live on the run. But even saying these words, she knew she was lying. Losing Jun-ho now seemed worse than any danger. In the morning, Jun-ho disappeared. He left only a note with apologies and a phone number in case of extreme necessity. So Rin felt an emptiness she hadn't experienced since childhood. The apartment seemed huge and cold without his presence. The next 3 days she tried to return to ordinary life. Work, home, television. But every sound in the stairwell made her flinch, and nightmares tormented her at night. On Thursday, sorting through her deceased father's belongings that were stored in the closet, she came across an old box with documents. Most were ordinary: certificates, receipts, photographs. But at the bottom lay a worn notebook with mysterious entries. Phone numbers without names. Meeting dates. Sums of money. And strange notes like cargo from Bangkok or meeting with L. Cancelled. Everything was written in her father's handwriting, but So Rin had never seen such entries. Her father worked as an accountant at a small firm and died 5 years ago from a heart attack. Or so they told her. At the end of the notebook, she found photographs. Her father in the company of unfamiliar men of Asian appearance. All were in expensive suits, but something in their poses and looks spoke of danger. In one of the shots, So Rin saw a symbol that seemed familiar, a lotus in the style of the tattoo on Jun-ho's shoulder. This is impossible, she thought, but her heart was already beating wildly. Turning over the photograph, she saw an inscription: Meeting in Seoul, 1995. Discussing contract with Black Lotus. The world spun around her. Father. Her kind, honest father was connected to the same organization Jun-ho was running from. With trembling hands, she continued searching and found a letter written to her mother shortly before her father's death. Dear Mihai, I must tell you the truth. The work at the firm was just a cover. For the last 15 years, I've been laundering money for an international criminal organization. But now I want to get out. I want to protect our family. So Rin must not learn the truth. Let her remember me as good. If something happens to me, know, I did everything to secure your future. In bank box number 347 lie documents that could destroy the entire organization. But they can only be retrieved in extreme circumstances. They kill for less. I love you both. Goodbye. So Rin reread the letter several times, not believing her eyes. So father didn't die of a heart attack. So he was killed. And she had lived her whole life in a lie. The phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Lee, a male voice with a slight accent said. I need to talk to you. Who is this? A person who is interested in the fate of your friend. And the fate of your documents. Her hands went cold. I don't understand what you're talking about. In an hour. Almond Cafe in the city center. Come alone. What if I don't come? Then your friend Kim Tae will never go to work again. The connection was cut. So Rin realized with horror that they were already following her. They knew about Tae, knew about her habits. With trembling fingers, she dialed the number Jun-ho had left. Speak quickly, the familiar voice answered. They found me. They're demanding a meeting in an hour. Damn. Where are you now? At home. Jun-ho, I found something. My father. He also worked for them. Long silence. Listen carefully. Go to the meeting, but not alone. I'll be nearby. The Almond Cafe was located in the city center, in an old district with narrow streets. So Rin entered exactly at the appointed time, looking around for Jun-ho, but he was nowhere to be seen. At a table by the window sat a man about 50 in an expensive suit. Graying hair, neat beard, cold eyes. He nodded to her, pointing to the free chair opposite. "Miss Lee, please sit down." So Rin lowered herself into the chair, trying to remain calm. "My name is Min Hyuk," the man introduced himself. "I worked with your father." "I don't know what you're talking about." Min Hyuk smiled and took an old photograph from his jacket. It showed So Rin's father standing next to several men by an expensive car. "Your father was a good man. Smart. He helped us with financial matters for many years. What do you want from me?" "First, I want to tell you the truth about his death." Min Hyuk took a sip of coffee and continued. "Lee Jong-soo decided to leave the business. Said he wanted to protect his family, start an honest life. We tried to dissuade him, but he proved stubborn. Moreover, he threatened to turn over compromising materials to the authorities. And you killed him," So Rin breathed out. "We simply accelerated the natural process. A small injection imitating a heart attack. No one suspected anything." So Rin felt hatred rising in her chest. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because now it's your turn to work for us." "What?" Min Hyuk took out another photograph, Jun-ho entering her house. "You helped our former employee. Now you also know too much. You have two options, work for us or disappear. Forever. What if I refuse? Then your friend Kim Tae will become an example for others. And you will follow her." At that moment, a waiter with a tray entered the cafe. Passing by their table, he accidentally stumbled and knocked the tray onto Min Hyuk. Hot coffee doused the man from head to toe. Sorry. The waiter fussed, helping to wipe the stains. Taking advantage of the commotion, So Rin quickly left the cafe. Jun-ho was already waiting for her on the street. "Quickly," he said, grabbing her hand. They ran through narrow alleys, weaving between buildings. Behind them came shouts and the sound of running engines. "Who was that?" asked So Rin when they stopped in a safe place. "Min Hyuk. One of the organization's leaders. Very dangerous man." "What did he tell you?" So Rin retold the conversation, feeling Jun-ho tense with each word. "So your father also tried to get out," he said thoughtfully. "And he had compromising materials. In the letter, he mentioned a bank box. Number 347. We need to get there. Those documents might be the only way to stop them. But first we need to save Min A." Jun-ho shook his head. "If we go for her right now, it will be a trap. That's what they're waiting for. But I can't abandon her. And you won't. But first we must get the documents. Only then will we have something to offer in exchange." The bank was located in Seoul's business center. So Rin was nervous, walking to the administrator's desk with her father's documents and a notarized inheritance certificate that she and her mother had filed after his death. "I need access to my deceased father's box," she told the clerk. The young man checked the documents and nodded. "Box 347. Follow me, please." In the basement storage, it was cool and quiet. The clerk opened the metal door and took out a long box. "The examination room is on the right. Call when you're finished." Left alone, So Rin opened the box with trembling hands. Inside lay folders with documents, photographs, and several diskettes. The first folder contained financial reports with government officials' signatures. The amounts were in millions of dollars. The second, lists of names with marks eliminated or recruited. The third, operation plans in different countries, including human and arms trafficking. The photographs showed meetings of high-ranking politicians with Black Lotus leaders. Among them, So Rin recognized the Minister of Justice and several generals. But the most shocking was the last folder. It contained a map of secret prisons where the organization held people to force cooperation. Addresses, names of prisoners, torture methods, everything was documented with frightening accuracy. My God, thought So Rin, Dad knew about this nightmare and was silent all these years. She quickly photographed the most important documents on her phone and returned the originals to the box. This evidence would be enough to imprison half the government. Jun-ho was waiting for her at the bank exit. How did it go? We have everything we need. But it's worse than I thought. They control the police, courts, politicians. How can we fight them? We'll find someone we can trust. But for now, we need to find a safe place. They went to the outskirts of the city, to an old district where Jun-ho had a safe house. A small room on the top floor, windows covered with newspapers, minimal furniture. Here we can plan, he said, turning on the laptop. Show me what you found. The next 2 hours they studied the documents, making an action plan. Jun-ho explained the organization structure, told her about its weak points. The main thing, don't give them time. As soon as they realize we have these documents, they'll start cleaning up. Kill all witnesses, destroy evidence. Then what do you suggest? Find a journalist we can trust. Transfer copies to several independent publications simultaneously. And negotiate with the prosecutor's office. What about Min A? I'm thinking about her too. But we need to act very carefully. So Rin's phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Lee, Min Hyuk's familiar voice sounded triumphant. I hope you had a good time at the bank. Blood froze in her veins. How do you know? We know everything. And now we have a proposal. Tomorrow at midnight, old warehouse at the port. You and your friend bring everything you took from the box. We give back your friend. What guarantees? The only guarantee, that otherwise she will die very slowly. And you will follow her. All right. We'll come. Wise decision. And no tricks. We'll be ready. It's a trap, said Jun-ho as soon as So Rin finished the conversation. Of course it's a trap. But we have no choice. There's always a choice. We can leave right now. Turn over the documents to journalists and disappear. What about Min A? So Rin, I understand your feelings, but this is suicide. Even if we give them the documents, they'll still kill us. They don't need witnesses. Then what do you suggest? Jun-ho was silent for a long time, looking out the window. There's one option. But it's very risky. Tell me. I still have contacts in the organization. People who also want to get out but are afraid. If we can convince them to help us. You want to stage a coup from within? Something like that. Min Hyuk isn't the only leader. There's also Park Hyun-jin, he controls operations in Korea. There's been a power struggle between them for a long time. If we play on that. But how to contact this Park Hyun-jin? Through my former partner, Park Ji-yeon. She worked for the organization as an informant journalist, but then also tried to get out. She's hiding now, but I know how to find her. And you trust her? As much as you can trust anyone in our business. She saved my life twice. They spent the night developing a plan. Jun-ho contacted Ji-yeon through encrypted channels. A meeting was set for the next day in a neutral place, the public library in the city center. In the morning, preparing for the meeting, So Rin looked carefully at herself in the mirror for the first time in many days. Dark circles under her eyes, a gaunt face. In a week, she had aged several years. Do you regret saving me? Asked Jun-ho, standing in the bathroom doorway. No, she answered honestly. I only regret learning the truth about my father so late. He was trying to protect you. That's worth a lot. What about your parents? Do they know what you did? Jun-ho's face darkened. My parents were killed when I was 14. That's exactly why they recruited me. Orphans don't ask unnecessary questions. So Rin came closer and carefully touched his hand. I'm sorry. I didn't know. It's okay. That was long ago. But from his voice, she understood that the wound had never healed. Park Ji-yeon turned out to be a woman about 35 with short black hair and attentive eyes. She sat in the library reading room, pretending to study a history book. "Jun-ho," she said quietly when they approached. "Haven't seen you in a while." "Ji-yeon. This is So Rin. The one I told you about." The journalist carefully studied So Rin. "So you're the nurse who stirred up the hornet's nest. I just saved a wounded person. And now you're paying for kindness." Familiar story. Ji-yeon opened the book and showed documents tucked between the pages. "I've been collecting material on Black Lotus for 3 years. I have connections in the prosecutor's office, in the police. People who can be trusted. But I was always missing key evidence. Now we have it," said So Rin. "Show me." So Rin handed her printed copies of the most important documents. Ji-yeon quickly flipped through the pages, and her face became more and more serious. "My God. This is enough to imprison half the government. Where are the originals?" "In a safe place." "Smart. What do you want in exchange?" "Help save my friend and stop the organization forever." Ji-yeon thought. This is possible. But it will require precise coordination. We'll only have one chance. She explained her plan. She had contacts in a police special unit that wasn't compromised by the organization. If they arranged simultaneous raids on all key Black Lotus facilities and at the same time published exposing material in the press, the organization wouldn't have time to conduct cleanup. "But there's one problem," she added. "Min Hyuk and Park Hyun-jin probably already know something is being prepared against them. They'll strengthen security, maybe even leave the country. Then what should we do? We need bait. Something that will force them to stay and act openly." Jun-ho and So Rin exchanged glances. "Tonight's meeting at the port," he said. "If we go there, they'll probably show up personally. Too important an operation to trust to subordinates." "That's suicide," objected Ji-yeon. "Not necessarily. If your people are ready. You want to set up an ambush at the warehouse?" "Exactly. We go to the meeting, they come there with evidence of their crimes, and the police arrest them. What if something goes wrong? Then we all die," Jun-ho said honestly. "But we have no other options." Ji-yeon was silent for a long time, then nodded. "All right. I'll contact my people. Let's meet in 2 hours at the same place." The evening before the operation, they spent in the safe house, double-checking every detail of the plan. Ji-yeon confirmed that the special unit was ready for action. At midnight, they would begin surrounding the warehouse. "Remember the main thing," Jun-ho instructed. "As soon as the shooting starts, get on the floor and don't move. The police will be in bulletproof vests, and the criminals have automatic weapons." "What about you?" asked So Rin. "I'll cover you and look for your friend. They're probably holding her somewhere nearby." Jun-ho. "What if we don't survive?" He approached her and took her hands. "Then at least we tried to do the right thing. Your father would be proud of you. And your parents, of you." They stood very close, and So Rin suddenly realized that despite all the horror of recent days, she had fallen in love. Fallen in love with this wounded, dangerous, but honest person. "So Rin," he said quietly. "Yes? If we survive. Would you like to try starting over? Together?" Instead of answering, she kissed him. The first kiss in many years that wasn't saturated with fear or coercion. Soft, gentle, full of hope. "Does that mean yes?" asked Jun-ho when they broke apart. "It means we absolutely must survive." At 11:30, they left the apartment and drove to the port. The old industrial district was plunged in darkness, only rare streetlights illuminated the empty streets. Warehouse number 47, said Jun-ho, looking at the GPS. 5 more minutes. Are you sure the police will be ready? Ji-yeon promised. They should have taken positions half an hour ago. But when they approached the warehouse, no signs of police presence were visible. The huge gray building stood in darkness, only one window glowed with dim yellow light. Something's wrong, Jun-ho muttered. At that moment, So Rin's phone rang. Miss Lee, Min Hyuk's voice sounded triumphant. You're on time. Enter the warehouse. Just the two of you, without weapons. What about the police? Your journalist friend turned out to be not very careful. We intercepted her messages. The policemen she considered honest have been working for us for a long time. So Rin's heart went cold. It's a trap. Of course it's a trap. But you have no choice. Come in now, we'll release your friend. Wait, she'll die in 5 minutes. The warehouse inside turned out to be larger than it seemed from outside. High ceilings disappeared into darkness, rare lamps burned between shelves with containers. Their steps echoed hollowly. This way, a voice called from the right. They walked between rows of goods and emerged into an open space in the center of the warehouse. Under the only bright lamp stood several people in black clothing with automatic rifles. In the center, Min Hyuk in the same expensive suit. And next to him, tied to a chair, Min-ae. Her friend was alive but looked frightened. A bruise under her left eye, torn clothing. Min-ae! So Rin shouted, stepping forward. Stay where you are, Min Hyuk said sharply. Business first. Several more armed people emerged from behind the containers, surrounding them in a semicircle. Where are the documents? Asked Min Hyuk. Where are the guarantees that you'll let us go? Jun-ho parried. Guarantees? Min Hyuk laughed. The only guarantee, that you'll all die. But death can be quick or slow. Then you'll never get the documents. We will. We'll just have to work a little with your friends. He nodded to one of his subordinates. The man approached Min-ae and put a pistol to her head. You have 10 seconds. Wait, said So Rin. The documents are in the car. Go get them. One of you. Your friend stays here as a guarantee. So Rin and Jun-ho exchanged glances. The plan was falling apart, but there was no other way out. All right, she agreed. But when So Rin turned toward the exit, something happened that no one expected. One of the lamps under the ceiling suddenly exploded, showering everyone with glass. Then a second. A third. In the ensuing darkness, shouts and sounds of struggle were heard. Everyone on the floor. A familiar voice shouted. It was Ji-yeon. So Rin fell to the concrete floor just in time. A burst from an automatic rifle whistled over her head. A shootout began. Flashes of gunshots illuminated the warehouse like a strobe light. Someone screamed in pain, someone gave orders. So Rin. She heard Jun-ho's voice. Crawl to the containers. She crawled across the floor, following the sound of his voice. Glass shards cut her palms, but she paid no attention to it. Min-ae. Where's Min-ae? She shouted. Here. Her friend's weak voice answered. So Rin reached the chair where Min-ae was tied and began untying the ropes. Are you wounded? No, just scared. So Rin, what's happening? I'll explain later. Now we need to get out of here. The shooting gradually subsided. Voices of people speaking into radios could be heard, police commands. Ji-yeon kept her word, So Rin thought with relief. But the joy was premature. From somewhere in the darkness came Min Hyuk's familiar voice, Miss Lee. I know you're here. So Rin froze. The voice came from very close. Your friend is wounded. If you want to save him, come out. Her heart stopped. Jun-ho? She called quietly. Here, he responded in a weak voice. Don't come out. It's a trap. Very touching, Min Hyuk said mockingly. But I have more convincing arguments. A shot rang out and a cry of pain. So Rin. Jun-ho screamed. She couldn't hide anymore. I'm coming out, she shouted, rising from the floor. Min Hyuk stood in the center of the warehouse, holding a pistol. Next to him on the floor lay wounded Jun-ho. Blood slowly spread under his body. There we go, said Min Hyuk. Now we can talk calmly. Around them lay the bodies of his subordinates. The police operation had been successful, but the leader had somehow survived. Let him go, said So Rin. I'll give you everything you want. I'm afraid it's too late. Your friends destroyed the work of my entire life. Now I just want you to suffer. He raised the pistol, aiming at Jun-ho. No! So Rin screamed, rushing forward. But the shot didn't come from Min Hyuk's pistol. Behind him materialized a figure in police uniform, one of the special unit snipers. Min Hyuk swayed and fell. Warehouse cleared, the sniper said into her radio. All suspects neutralized. So Rin rushed to Jun-ho. The bullet had hit his shoulder, but vital organs weren't damaged. Everything will be okay, she whispered, pressing crumpled fabric to the wound. Everything will be okay. The documents. He wheezed. Are the documents safe? Yes. Ji-yeon already transferred copies to the prosecutor's office. It's all over. Jun-ho smiled weakly and lost consciousness. 6 months later, So Rin stood at the hospital room window, watching Jun-ho undergo rehabilitation in the courtyard. The shoulder wound had healed, but doctors recommended another month of physical therapy. The investigation based on materials found in her father's bank box continued. 23 high-ranking officials were arrested, including 2 ministers. Black Lotus as an organization ceased to exist, its assets frozen by international financial structures. Jun-ho received witness protection status in exchange for testimony against the organization. Ji-yeon published a series of exposé articles that had the effect of a bomb exploding in political circles. How are things? Asked Min-ae, entering the room with a bouquet of flowers. Couldn't be better, So Rin replied. And you? Also not bad. Therapy helps deal with the consequences of the kidnapping. And your Jun-ho gets more handsome every day. So Rin smiled. During these months, she and Jun-ho had become very close. He told her about his childhood, about years of working for the organization, about how he dreamed of a normal life. She, about her marriage to a tyrant, about the fears that had tormented her for years. Together they learned to trust, love, plan for the future. So Rin, Jun-ho called, entering the room. I have news for you. What? They approved my loan for buying a building in the city center. We can open our rehabilitation center. This was their common dream, to help people who had suffered from organized crime. Former mercenaries, victims of human trafficking, families of the deceased. Jun-ho wanted to work as a security consultant, and So Rin as a psychologist. That's wonderful. She rejoiced, hugging him. There's one more piece of news, he added, taking a small box from his pocket. So Rin felt her heart skip a beat. Jun-ho. I know we've only known each other for 6 months. I know I have a terrible past. But I also know that I love you more than life. Will you marry me? The ring was simple, without frills, exactly the kind she liked. Yes, she whispered through tears. Of course, yes. A year later, on a spring morning, they stood in the very forest where So Rin had found Jun-ho. But now friends and loved ones were gathered around them, Min-ae, Ji-yeon, colleagues from the hospital, people from their rehabilitation center. Dear friends, said the priest, we have gathered here to unite 2 people who found each other in the darkest moments of their lives. So Rin looked at Jun-ho in his simple black suit. The scars on his arms and neck were still visible, but now they didn't frighten her. On the contrary, each told a story of survival, struggle, victory over circumstances. I swear, he answered firmly, looking into her eyes. Do you swear, Lee So Rin, to love Park Jun-ho in joy and sorrow, and sickness and health, until the end of your days? I swear, she whispered, feeling tears of happiness well up in her throat. When they exchanged rings, So Rin carefully touched the scars on Jun-ho's chest. These marks no longer remind us of pain, she said quietly, so only he could hear. Now they speak of how you survived for our love. You saved me twice, he replied, kissing her hand. First my life, then my soul. The applause of friends mixed with birdsong in the spring forest. The sun broke through young leaves, painting everything around in golden light. After the ceremony, when the guests had gone to celebrate at the restaurant, the newlyweds remained in the forest for a few more minutes. Do you remember when I found you? Asked So Rin, leaning against that same oak. I remember. I thought I was dying. But it turned out I was just beginning to live. We built a good center, she said, thinking about their common cause. In a year, they had helped 37 people recover. Former mercenaries became guards and security consultants. Victims of human trafficking received psychological help and professional training. Families of the deceased, support and legal assistance. And this is just the beginning, Jun-ho replied. The government promised to increase funding. We'll be able to help even more people. What about your nightmares? They've become less frequent. And when they happen, I just turn to you, and everything passes. So Rin smiled. Her own fears had also receded. Jun-ho never raised his voice at her, never raised his hand, never forced her. He patiently waited until she was ready for intimacy, supported her on difficult days, rejoiced in her successes. You know what I'm thinking about? He said, embracing her. What? That your father would be proud of you. You finished what he started. And your parents would be proud of you. You became the person they wanted to see you become. They stood in each other's arms, listening to the sounds of the awakening forest. Somewhere in the distance a nightingale sang, wind rustled the leaves, and the sun slowly rose above the horizon. Jun-ho, So Rin said quietly. Yes? I'm pregnant. He froze, then slowly pulled back to look into her eyes. Really? I found out yesterday. I wanted to tell you after the wedding, but I couldn't hold it in. Jun-ho lifted her up and spun her around, laughing with happiness. We're going to be parents. He shouted to the whole forest. Do you hear? We're going to be parents. Quieter, So Rin laughed. You'll scare away all the birds. Let them know. Let the whole world know how happy I am. He carefully set her on the ground and placed his palm on her still flat stomach. Hello, little one, he whispered. I'm your daddy. And I promise that you'll grow up in a world where no one will have to be afraid. So Rin covered his hand with hers. Will we tell him about Grandpa? She asked. Of course. We'll tell him that Grandpa was a hero. That he sacrificed himself for justice. And about you. About how you changed. About how people can reform if they have love and support. The sun rose higher, dispersing the morning mist. The forest filled with sounds and aromas of spring. New life was awakening everywhere, in budding branches, in birdsong, in the hope of two people who found each other in their darkest hour. Shall we go to the guests? Asked Jun-ho. Let's go. But first. So Rin looked once more at the place where she had once found a dying stranger. Now the first spring flowers grew here, a symbol of new life breaking through old pain. Thank you, she whispered, addressing fate, her father, that invisible order of things that had brought her together with Jun-ho. Thank you for what? He asked. For you being in exactly this forest. For me working exactly that shift. For me having enough courage to break the rules and take you home. And I'm grateful for meeting a nurse with a kind heart, he replied. For you seeing a person in me, not a monster. Hand in hand, they walked along the forest path to the car. Ahead lay a new life, without fears, without running, without the need to hide the past. The rehabilitation center, family, children who would grow up in safety. The scars on Jun-ho's body hadn't disappeared anywhere. But now they told a different story, not of pain and destruction, but of survival and hope. Under the skin marked by wounds beat a heart full of love. And this was the best story they could write together.